Hi there, everyone. My name is Christian Eschbach, and welcome to another one of my album reviews. This is going to start the beginning of 4 in a row for David Bowie, and let me tell you why. I bought this cool little set about a year ago, year and a half ago. I don't remember 100% when. And this covers, as you can see, 77 through 79. It is called Ziet. Interesting that I now own two different albums in my collection by the name of Ziet. One is David Bowie, and the other one is Rammstein. Now, Ziet contains 4 albums. It contains Heroes, probably the most popular of all the ones in here. And then we have Low, then The Lodger, and Stage. And this is the order you are going to get these reviews in. And now that I've covered that, let's start with Heroes. All right. Released in 1977, Heroes contains 10 tracks. This definitely marks Bowie going into a more weird phase. One of the things that you're going to hear a lot in here is I'm going to mention new wave a lot. And when I'm talking new wave, I'm talking like new wave pop, stuff that really became popular in the early 80s. Bowie is an innovator. Bowie is a creator. Bowie was always ahead of the curve in the music. He always was, at least as far as pop was going. To the point where, as I'm going through a lot of these albums, I'm going to explain it could be even seen as a little maybe detrimental to your average Bowie viewer. I will tell you right now that your average Bowie listener, okay, your average Bowie fan from, the beginning until like 76, the golden era of Bowie, will say, really going to start getting thrown off by this and other ones that come afterwards. All right, let's get into this. Albums of Beauty and the Beast. I love anything Bowie does that has a great dance rhythm to it. Bowie does some great stuff with some great dance rhythms to it where you can get out there and you want to move. You can either move by yourself and let the flow take you. You can move with a lady friend. You can move with a gentleman, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, what I'm trying to get at, man, is Bowie drops great danceable numbers. And or to me, I don't really dance, but for me it'd be more a roller skating kind of tune, go out and roller skate to this shit. Amazing groove on this song. Starts up the album perfectly, gives it the right vibe, gets the energy flowing. It's exactly what you want as an opener on an album. I'm a bit surprised, actually, that this song hasn't been more popular than it is, especially all these years later. This is one of those songs that I think time really sadly has forgotten and overlooked. Joe the Lion. Ooh, okay, so this is still a danceable kind of track, but I don't like this one. It's just an album filler to me for the most part. It's a little new wave, it's a little disco, a little too much into new wave and disco for me, not the good parts of new wave and disco. But it also shows, once again, like I was talking about, that curve with Bowie and how he's always kind of ahead of it. Then we get into what is probably the only song on this album that most people would know, and that is the song Heroes. And I love Heroes because Heroes is one of those songs that's always comes back fresh and new, like once a decade. It's like everybody, a new generation once a decade, discovers Heroes, and it's this beautiful fresh thing, and they think it's some underground thing, and they love it, and it's amazing. An example is Confessions of a Wallflower, I believe it was called. This song plays huge in it, and that was a song that was supposed to be, I believe, in like the early 90s. So at that point, the song had already been over a decade old, so it had gone through the late 70s, but it was so late in the 70s that it still would have carried on into the early 80s, because I remember it to a degree. And then it would have phased out a little bit, and then it came back in the 90s. Now, Confessions of I think it was a high school wallflower, maybe? Anyways, that particular one, it took place in the 90s, but it was actually later into the 2000s, if I remember correctly. Because it was when Emma Watson, it was like her first grown up, like when she was 18, we'll say, kind of role. She was quite good in the movie. I thought so. Anyways, this is what I'm trying to say is like it keeps coming back like every decade, something brings it back again. It's just fantastic. Wonderful song. Then we're on to Sons of the Silent Age. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. It's fantastic musical wise. It's got some wonderful arrangements and whatnot to it. But it doesn't really do anything for me outside of if this album is playing. You know, it's definitely not a song I'm going to go out of my way to listen to. Blackout. This one has, I want to say, some party energy to it. I mean, it's called Blackout, right? Um, there are some change ups in it, though, that keep it from being a solid, danceable kind of song. Uh, it's a real, it's hard to describe this one. It's a great album cut. I'm going to go with that. All right. After this, we get into V2 Schneider. This is basically an experimental music track. Great vibe and groove. Really has no vocals on it. There's some parts where you can hear a distorted name drop. You know, you hear V2 Schneider or something like that. I had a couple spots in there. And that's about it. So basically, it's an instrumental track. And at this point, I got to mention that up until the last track on the album goes completely instrumental at this point, which is really cool for me because I had never ever experienced David Bowie really doing instrumental stuff. Yes, I do have some instrumental stuff because there is some on one of his albums I've already reviewed. I'll pop it up here because I don't remember the name of it. But getting to listen to the instrumental stuff on here, I've come to the conclusion I could build myself a really good David Bowie instrumental mix and really have some fun with it, you know, and different representations from different eras. Even within the set, just within the set, there's quite a bit that I would put into an instrumental that could, like, all the tracks off here could be taken off here and put into one instrumental album, which would be pretty cool on its own, I think. All right. So after that, after V2 Schneider, which is just kind of, you know, playing around more or less to me, we get into Sense of Doubt. And the music really captures the title, or the title is a really good sense of what the music is doing and what it's telling. If you dig instrumental music, this one's totally worth checking out. There's the vibe in it is really cool because it's got a vibe in it that definitely sounds metal. Definitely sounds gothish. Definitely really heavy on the synths. You know, and the best thing I can think of as a comparison would be 80s Dio, except this is Bowie in the late 70s. So it's really interesting, once again, showing Bowie ahead of that curve. And Sense of Doubt is really cool. If you're into that really kind of instrumentally gloomy, doomy kind of gothy metal, give this one a check for sure. Then we hit Moss Garden. This is it's funny because the way they flow, there's three, not V Schneider is not part of this flow, but Sense of Doubt, then you got Moss Garden, and then you got Nucleon. I'll put the spelling up there for that third one. But they kind of all flow into each other in a beautiful way where you don't notice the flow. It's kind of nice and seamless, which is really weird because, you know, a Sense of Doubt, you got something that's really kind of, ooh, you know, that anxiety, that foreboding, that definite sense of that doubt. Then you go into Moss Garden, and Moss Garden is this relaxing, gentle, kind of pretty song. And it reminds me, like, in the 90s, like those relaxation CDs you used to hear, like the rainforest and stuff like that. Kind of reminds me of that, except without the ambient rainforesty kind of sounds, right? Just the instrumental part of it. And I'm sure that those albums still sell to this day, but, you know, like, this is really kind of what this track sounds like to me. Really good, really cool instrumentation on it, though. It's really great follow-up. And it's a great kind of midpoint for the three in a row. And then you get into, as I was saying, Nucleon. Neuko. Let's get the two little dots above it. I can't remember what that's called. LN. And um, this one here, um, this one's kind of crazy. At this point, the musical tracks, like I was saying, they kind of all run into each other and in a good way. But when you hit this one, the first two were kind of like blended together. When you hit this one, it's like the first two that are put together, but with this wild jazz sax that's all over the place on it. Like just crazy, crazy. Like the first thing that came to my mind was David Lynch, the revival for Twin Peaks, when he does that nuclear explosion bit where it's all static and black and it's all crazy and stuff like that. Just totally wild and like, what the hell? And this song, unlike that part, doesn't go on too long. It goes on probably just about the right amount of time for me, anyways. Some people definitely this is not for them. This is a not for everybody kind of one. This, like I said, crazy jazzy kind of sax going on, man. Like this is some weird, wild stuff. Now, having never really gotten to experience instrumentalist Bowie to the extent of just getting to hear it on here, and just the vocals for the most part, like Ziggy Stardust, for example, like that's one of the 70s albums I own. Believe it or not, I don't have too many from the 70s. Most of what I have from the 70s is a lot of greatest hits. I've got a little bit more from the later stuff and whatnot. But even on some of the later stuff, there's not, like, you might get one instrumental track here, one instrumental track there. But to get something like this, it feels like it's actually like a real kind of story and involvement to go through. Is really kind of interesting. And, I've always known Bowie plays multiple instruments. I know he plays sax, he plays piano, he plays guitar. He's multi-instrumental, and that's great. So to hear him really get kind of cut loose and do a bunch of different instrumental stuff, really, it works for me. I like it on every level. But it's not for everybody. And I like also, though, that the songs also, those three particular, really honestly tell a story. Like, you can hear the story within the music, which is fantastic. V2 Schneider is someone having fun. And then the album finishes off with The Secret Life of Arabia. I'm guessing that this was basically to avoid ending the album on an instrumental track. It's okay, it's nothing special, and a bit of a letdown after all the instrumental parts. So when it comes to this album, Heroes, best song on the album, without a doubt. Beauty and the Beast, definitely overlooked. V2 Schneider, I would include in an instrument package like I was talking about. But V2 Schneider, Sense of Doubt, Moss Garden, and Newcone? I don't know. That's really kind of where I'm at. I really think that that's where this album really lives, really breathes, in that section there. And this is not going to be for everybody. Let me be very clear. If you are, like I said, starter Bowie up until 76, so the true kind of greatest hits era, the hardcore golden years, as a lot of people would refer to it, this is not going to be for you, without a doubt. But if you do get out of that period and you get more into the 80s Bowie and stuff like that, then you might have a little more appreciation for this. But to me, this is definitely a musician's album, without a doubt. This is a musician's album. And I think that's why I enjoy it the way I do so much, is I'm a musician who plays multiple instruments, so I really can kind of dig into it. I can really enjoy what he's doing and how much he's going with it and how intriguing it can get. Anyways, folks, that's it. That's me talking about David Bowie's Heroes. This is a little punch in for the afterthoughts on Bowie Heroes. I forgot to mention that I am going to, well, I talked about it all at the beginning on the Heroes video. I am going to wrap it all up at the end when I do the stage video. So you're going to have to watch them all to get the bits and pieces that go in between. All right. Let me know what you think. That's what the comment section's for. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell for notifications. There is a link that goes to Patreon. Peace, love, take care.